America celebrated Independence Day this week, a time for Americans to come together and celebrate what makes this country great. Unless you're the ice cream brand Ben & Jerry's. They celebrated the holiday by reminding Americans that they think America was stolen from Indigenous people and needs to be returned. Joining us now is Adam B Coleman from Wrong Speak Publishing and the New York Post. Adam, thanks as always for joining us. How do you think that messaging's landed, especially when we're looking at their stock value?
I don't think it landed very well because most people aren't left-wing ideologues like they've become. The reality is that, for people like them, they always proclaim that we should give up something for other people, yet they would never do it themselves. And many have brought up the point that the land that their headquarters may be located at, they're not advocating to get rid of their headquarters to give it up to some Native American tribe in the name of doing good in society. So I think it doesn't really land. It's not benefiting them to basically show a level of disgrace and show a level of hubris while we're supposed to be celebrating our country and showing grace and have some dignity about living in such a wonderful country.
I'm just kind of shocked at the move. Not that it might not be profoundly, deeply held by the owners of the company, but don't you think anyone who would have been watching what happened to Bud Light over the last few months would just say, maybe not, maybe let's not tweet?
Yeah, no one thinks it's going to be them until it's them. And this is also the problem with them is that they think that they're righteous. So they're willing to put themselves out there. And then when someone comes after them or the stock drops and people criticize them, then they can act like they're the victims in this situation.
Yeah, look, I was never a big Ben & Jerry's fan anyway, but another one that's been an interesting story this week, the fallout from the Supreme Court striking down affirmative action has continued. It's been a big national discussion, and it's been getting a little bit vicious, especially towards Asian Americans who have supported the Supreme Court's decision after Asian Wave Alliance President Yatin Chu tweeted, "I told my daughter that today is a big day. They've ended affirmative action. Isn't it what you've been fighting for?" she asked. I said yes. Former CNN host Soledad O'Brien tweeted back, "Congrats on screwing over other people of colour, ma'am. Particularly those whose efforts in civil rights paved the way for your family to come to America." Look, this is a really important discussion for Asian Americans. I know many who've really welcomed this. What did you make of this kind of discourse around it?
Well, I think it's unfortunate that Asians have become some sort of target in this particular scenario. But I think the reality is that if America is supposed to learn from lessons of the past, any form of discrimination, even if it's minor situations like affirmative action, where they take into race as like a subcategory to getting a college acceptance, but any sort of discrimination based off of something you have no control over, like your race, like your gender or sex, that type of thing we are trying to stay away from. And leaving this within our laws and allowing it to happen is like leaving a relic from the past that we constantly criticize. So any form of discrimination allows for more discrimination to happen. It becomes a rationality for us to discriminate against someone because this form of discrimination is good. But I'm very resolute in believing that if we allow any form of discrimination to happen, one day it will come back to haunt you.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one thing at one point in time, and then it's another different criteria, and you're not fitting in the box in the next generation, and all of a sudden it's a different conversation, isn't it? So I think there's going to be long-term repercussions of that one, but certainly been an interesting discussion this week. Another topic, the California Reparations Task Force is asking the state government to look at child support as California moves towards paying reparations to Black residents as an apology for slavery. The task force, looking into how much needs to be paid, have said on the harms of American culture towards Black people is the disproportionate amount of African Americans who are burdened with child support debt. I mean, what do you make of this? Is it a disproportionate cost for African Americans versus the rest of the population?
Well, what's interesting, oh, excuse me, what's interesting about the report is that it gives the perception that they're asking for child support debt to be wiped away. And actually, to not necessarily be completely fair, but to be fair, what they're actually asking for is the debt of interest. So basically, if there is child support that's owed, they add interest on top of it. So what they're asking for is that interest to be wiped away, which is basically money that would have gone to the government. So whether you think that's something that that is minor in the grand scheme of things compared to what they were asking for before, where they basically wanted to bankrupt the state with actual cash dollars being sent out. Um, it's a debate as to if this is something that would even be impactful. Is it necessary? I honestly think that the reparations package that they were sending out, coming from this committee, I think they were just trying to touch on any possible area, not just cash, but just find any minute area. Is it disproportionate? Yes, I guess it's disproportionate to the population, but I don't think that's an accurate way to assess much of anything. I think it said that it's like 18% in comparison to the population of 13% of the Black population. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what to really think of it. Um, is it something that I'm going to lose sleep over if they were to go through? No, I wouldn't. Basically, they're just saying these particular people shouldn't give money towards the government for interest while they're already owe money on top of it. It makes it even harder for them to pay back that money. So I just wanted to give some sort of clarification because I think it's misappropriated.
Yeah, look, I do take your point. I guess that does go to enforcement though, doesn't it? If you're not paying the money back and you don't see the interest piling up, you're probably just going to leave it and ignore it. And so I guess there's that element to it as well, but certainly not perfect system. We are going to have to leave it there. But Adam Coleman, thank you so much for your time.